Chapter 10. With All Due Respect. City of Winchester, Fall, 1755. Upon his return, Washington reestablishes his headquarters in Winchester, a location he considers strategically critical to protecting the western frontier. And being that he and his Virginia regiment are the frontier's only line of defense, Washington seeks to fortify his forces by all means available. As part of that effort, he instructs his men to get the word out that their commander is in need of a skilled tracker, one with knowledge of the local natives who can serve as both Indian liaison and scout. Orders in hand, the soldiers of the regiment comb the valley in search of a man who fits the bill. To their surprise, such a man is not at all hard to find, for with each person they speak with, tales of one man come up repeatedly, a man whose reputation as master hunter-tracker and long-standing friend of the local Shawnee make him the perfect man for the job. But still, some are skeptical. He killed it with only a knife? The tavern owner slaps a rag on the bar and wipes it off. That's right, Sergeant. And he's been wearing it as a bloody coat ever since. You'll know him when you see him. He looks like a bloody bear with that very knife strapped to his side. He's a good man. I do business with him on occasion. Folks around these parts respect him. The sergeant rests back on his heels. So, what's his name? Where can I find him? Well, I calls him Mr. Makwa. The sergeant squints an eye. What the hell kind of name is that? Just then, a man standing at the end of the bar speaks up. That's his Shawnee name. The sergeant and his corporal turn to him. Shawnee? Well, we ain't looking for no Injuns, mister. And we damned sure ain't looking for no Shawnee. The man takes a gulp of his drink and places it back on the bar, peering at them through the corner of his eye. He ain't no Injun, and he's no Shawnee. The corporal shakes his head. But you said, that's right. Makwa is his Injun name, but his Christian name is Alban. You can find him west of town in Alban village. The sergeant straightens. Alban, you say? That's right, Alban. William Alban. He's the best damn hunter and tracker west of the Shenandoah. The sergeant's brow raises. You don't say. With his squint-eyed stare, ask anyone who's anyone. Hell, he provides meat to half the town, and most of its inns. The corporal looks at his sergeant and then at the man. So he has a Shawnee name. Does he have relations with them? Damned right he does. Last I heard, anyway. The corporal continues. Why do they call him Makwa? The man chuckles. On account of Makwa means bear in Indian speak. The corporal nods. So he's a big fella. Sure, he's big enough. But they call him that on account of that goddamned bear he killed. It's hard to question the story when he's carrying the damned thing around on his back. Trust me, gents. He's your man. And if you dinna believe me now, you will when you meet him. The sergeant peers at his corporal, then back at the man. So, west of town, then. The man steps away from the bar and turns to them. For the love of Christ, son, am I no speaking the king's English, or ain't I? Just head west about 4 miles. You canna miss it. Slapping on his tricorn, the man disappears out the front door. The Alban Farm, the following day, Fall, 1755. When Mary answers the knock on her door, she is surprised to find 2 soldiers standing on her porch. Wiping her hands on her apron, she smiles warmly. Well, hello, gentlemen. Good afternoon, ma'am. Please forgive the intrusion. I'm Sergeant Wilson with the regiment posted in Winchester, and this here's Corporal Thompson. We're here on behalf of our commander, Colonel Washington. I see. And how might I help you, gents? The sergeant removes his headgear, placing it under his arm. Might this be the Alban farm? Aye, it is. Is something amiss? No, ma'am, not at all. We're just wondering if we might speak with William. Is he here? Well, me son and husband are both named William. Which are you looking for? Just then the corporal chimes in. The one who goes by Makwa. Mary smiles. That's me husband. But I'm sorry, gents. I've no seen him since early this morn. He were off for a hunt at the crack of dawn. The sergeant nods slowly. Any idea when he might be back? God only knows, Sergeant. Might I ask what this be about? Actually, ma'am, it's our commander, Colonel Washington, who wishes to speak with him. We just came by to see if he'd be obliged to that. Mary places her hands on her hips. Well, I dinna see why he'd be opposed to it. I tell you what, lads. You tell your colonel he's welcome to come by any time, and I'll tell me husband to keep an eye out. The sergeant bows. Very well, ma'am. Thank you for your time. Replacing his headgear, he smiles, gesturing with the tip of his hat. You're welcome, gents. Have a bonny day. The Virginia Regiment Headquarters, City of Winchester, Fall, 1755. Sergeant Wilson and Corporal Thompson are standing in front of their commander's desk with their platoon leader, Lieutenant Eustace, reporting their findings. Washington looks up from his desk. Stand at ease, gentlemen. Thank you, sir, Eustace replies. So, Sergeant, I understand you found us a new scout. Well, we believe we have, sir. You're not very convincing, Sergeant. Well, it's just that we've never met the man. All we have to go by are the stories around town, sir. Stories? Yes, sir. About him providing meat for half the town and such. He's clearly a skilled hunter-trapper. I see. And are you in agreement, Lieutenant? Based on the stories I've heard, yes, sir, I am. Very well, then. Tell me more, Sergeant. Well, sir, to begin with, we asked all over town, and everyone we asked pointed to this man. Really? Yes, sir. As crazy as it sounds, they all mentioned one name. The corporal raises a finger. Two, actually, sir. Washington squints his right eye. Which is it, gentlemen? Are we talking about one man or two? They start to answer, but are cut off by their lieutenant. If I may, sir, Sergeant Wilson and Corporal Thompson are referring to the same man. It's just that he goes by two names. Two names? Yes, sir. His Christian name is William Alban, but his Indian name is Makwa. Indian name? Yes, sir. Apparently Mr. Alban has quite a reputation with the local tribes. Reputation or relationship? Both, sir. Washington leans back in his chair. I see. And what of his skills? From what we hear, he's the best tracker and hunter this side of the Shenandoah, and he speaks Shawnee. Interesting. To the chagrin of his superiors, the corporal blurts, But that's not the best of it, sir. Corporal! Washington raises a hand. Easy, Lieutenant. I would like to hear what the corporal has to say. Thank you, sir. And forgive me for speaking out of line, but I figured it was worthy of mentioning. Washington leans forward, hands atop his desk. I'm listening, Corporal. Well, sir, it's just, they say he got his Injun name on account of he killed a bear. Washington leans back. Well, you wouldn't be the first man to have killed a bear, Corporal. With a knife, sir. Washington sits upright. A knife? Yes, sir, and from what we're told, he wears the bloody thing everywhere he goes. Washington laughs. I suppose if I'd killed a bear with a knife, I'd be wearing him too. The sergeant clears his throat. Sir, another story we heard tells of how he saved the life of a wounded Shawnee warrior, one of their leader's nephews from what I'm told. Washington raises a brow, and the lieutenant adds, Word has it, he likely saved the lives of several townfolk that day as well. Is that so? And where can I find this Makwa? Sergeant Wilson points to the west. Just 4 miles outside of town, in a place called Alban Village. Corporal Thompson and I rode out there, but Mr. Alban was out hunting. We spoke with his wife, and She extended an open invitation for you to visit, sir. Washington stands and nods. Very well, gentlemen. Excellent work. You're dismissed. The three subordinates snap to attention and salute. Their commander returns the gesture, and they execute an about-face and exit the office. Washington calls to his aide. Lieutenant Boyd! He snaps to attention in the doorway. Sir! Check my schedule. We've a trip to make. The aide salutes sharply. Yes, sir. Hearing of William's reputation and close ties with the Shawnee, Washington is convinced they have found their man. Now all he has to do is gain his trust and hope he can be recruited. What Washington is unaware of, but will soon find out, is in light of the tyrannical treatment he received at the hands of Lord Fairfax, William's bitterness towards the crown and his loyalty to his Shawnee brethren will make recruiting him a tough sell. The Alban Farm. A few days later, late October, 1755. It is a beautiful, albeit chilly day, and the three eldest Alban brothers are outside. They are enjoying some late morning sun while their 55-year-old father chops firewood. As he methodically chops the wood down to usable logs, his boys busily stack them under the eaves of the cabin. Eldest son, 15-year-old John, orchestrates the activities of his two younger brothers, 11-year-old Robert and 8.5-year-old Junior, as they stack. Their mother, 40-year-old Mary Elizabeth, is in the cabin caring for her youngest son, 2-year-old James. William lives for days like this, days when he and his sons can spend time together working and or playing around the farm. To his way of thinking, any day spent teaching his boys life skills and the satisfaction that comes from a hard day's work is a good day indeed. And teaching them to work together as a team is better still. He is a proud father whose primary mission is raising his sons into men, and the best way he knows to do that is by teaching them the skills, knowledge, and morals he learned from his father and senior. He is chopping away when John spots men approaching. Da! 2 men on horseback! He turns and eyeballs them, then returns to chopping. One of the men calls out, Mr. Alvin! William buries his axe in the stump, then addresses his sons before acknowledging the man. John, finish chopping these logs for me, lad. Aye, da! Keep stacking, lads. You can practice throwing when you're done. Aye, da! They holler. Mr. Alvin, good morning, the man repeats as he rides up. William turns to the riders. With all due respect, sir, it's Alban. A-L-B as in Bravo, I-N, Alban. But you can call me William. Forgive my error, Mr. Alban. No need for formalities, gents. William will do. At the woodpile, the boys continue stacking the wood while listening to their father's conversation. Although they appear to be working, they are focused on eavesdropping, and Robert asks, Who do you suppose they are? John discreetly eyeballs them. I dinna ken. Soldiers by the looks of 'em. Look at those outfits. Robert whispers, He's getting off his horse. One of the soldiers dismounts and reaches out to shake William's hand. Mr. Alban, forgive me. William, Colonel Washington of the Virginia Regiment. William shakes his hand. Pleasure, Colonel. The pleasure's mine, sir. After all I have heard about you, it's an honor to finally meet you. William wipes the sweat off his brow. You're the one wearing the uniform, Colonel. The honor's mine. Across the yard at the woodpile, Robert whispers. What do you say? His name is Colonel Washington, John barks. Now get back to work. The boys keep stacking the wood, but really cannot help but eavesdrop. I heard you were coming. Welcome, Colonel. Washington tips his tricorn. Thank you, sir. So, what brings an important man such as yourself all the way out to Alban Village, Colonel? Actually, I was hoping we might have a word. William nods, then turns towards his cabin with a wave. Well, gents, I were just heading in for some refreshment. Care to join me? With a slight bow, Washington tips his tricorn. Thank you, sir. We would be much obliged. William nods, then turns to his boys. John! Robert! Come tie off these horses and see to it they're watered. Washington and his aide exchange a glance, then hand the reins to the boys before following William into the cabin. Mary is sitting at the table, bouncing James on her knee, singing and playing when they enter. Mary sees them enter, then sets James on the floor to play with wooden toy animals his father carved for John years before. William introduces her. Gentlemen, meet me bonny bride, Mary Elizabeth Bruce Alban. Removing his dark blue tricorn and placing it over his chest, of the Brucetown Bruces? She smiles proudly. The very same, Colonel. Washington stands tall and regal with his 6'2" frame. In his regimental uniform of red-knee trousers, a red shirt, and dark blue double-breasted coat, his appearance is noble. Bowing respectfully, he takes her hand, kissing it politely, before returning to an upright position. Your family's reputation precedes you, Mrs. Alban. Colonel George Washington, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And you as well, Colonel. Welcome to our home. 'Tis an honor to have you. Washington nods gracefully. Thank you. You are most kind. Am I to assume, then, that Sir John was your father? Aye, indeed he was. Your father was a fine man, Mrs. Alban. An asset to the valley and its planters. William asks, Did you know him, Colonel? By reputation only, I'm afraid. He was held in high regard by many, I can assure you. Mary smiles warmly. Thank you, Colonel. That's kind of you to say. He'll be forever missed. Washington nods. And remembered. It takes a special man to have a town named after him. William nods. Aye, we should all be so honored. And an honor it would truly be. Turning to his cohort, allow me to introduce my aide, Lieutenant Boyd. The aide removes his headgear, bowing slightly at the waist. Mr. and Mrs. Alban, it is an honor. William pulls out a chair. Have a seat, gents. His guests follow in kind, placing their tricorns on the table and taking a seat. So, what wets your whistle, Colonel? Coffee, tea, or something a bit stronger? Washington glances at his aide, then back at William. Tea, if you please. Are you sure, Colonel? We're talking about McGregor's finest, after all. Perhaps another time. Thank you. Tea it is, then. Mary stands. I'll get that for you straight away, gents. Smiling warmly, she joyfully prepares her guests some hot tea. Meanwhile, back at the woodpile, after dropping their last armfuls of wood onto the stack, the brothers make their way over to the edge of the corral to the throwing range Sinawa constructed for them. After retrieving the hatchets and knives Beebe had Jeffrey Dean make for them, they proceed to practice their aim, hurling their weapons at the various wooden targets. Back in the cabin, William and his guests are breaking the ice with a round of small talk, and Washington asks, This is a fine place you have here. Have you been here long? I arrived from Ireland with my family back in 23, then made me way to the Shenandoah 5 years later. And you've been on this land ever since? Nay, I purchased this land from the Shawnee the year before Mary and I wed. That were 17 years ago. Well, it's a beautiful piece of land. Of course, it used to be much bigger. The colonel tilts his head slightly, and William continues. Before Lord Fairfax arrived and took it all away. Washington and his aide exchange a glance. You see, the Crown refused to recognize that the Shawnee, who've lived here forever, were the rightful owners of this land when I purchased it. And just like that, I lost 80% of my land. Knowing full well his surveying had contributed to the demise of William's estate, Washington raises a brow. I see. Having full knowledge of his commander's work as a surveyor, Lieutenant Boyd clears his throat but remains silent as Mary places their cups of tea on the table. "Thank you, Mrs. Alban." "The pleasure's mine, Colonel." Boyd adds, "Yes, thank you, ma'am." Looking to change the subject, Washington turns his attention back to Mary. "And what of you, Mrs. Alban? Are you from these parts?" "Actually, Colonel, knowing of me father as you do, I'm sure you can guess. I were born in Scotland." "Scotland? I hear it's a beautiful place." "Aye, 'tis. Me family came to the colonies in 24 when I were 9. We made it out here 11 years later. And, would you believe, the day we arrived were the very day I met me husband." Washington turns to William with a smile. "Is that so? I guess it's true what they say. Some things are just meant to be." William throws him his signature wink and he chuckles. Mary smacks her husband's arm. "'Tis true, Colonel." Washington tips his cup. "How about yourself, Colonel?" Washington rests his cup on the table. "I'm proud to say I'm a Virginian, born and raised." "You don't say. Just like me boys. 'Tis a fine thing, Colonel. Virginia is a beautiful place, and having been around a bit, I'm confident in saying there's nowhere finer. No even me beloved Ireland." Flattered, Washington smiles. "Nowhere indeed, William. Nowhere indeed." "Forgive me for saying, Colonel, while this has been a most cordial affair, I'm fairly certain you didn't travel all the way out here to talk about our roots." "You're right, William. Our visit is of a far more important nature. Might we step outside, just the two of us? I have a matter I wish to discuss in private." "Aye, we can do that. Mare Bear, would you be so kind as to entertain Lieutenant Boyd whilst the Colonel and I share a word?" "Why, of course, dear. More tea, Lieutenant?" The lieutenant tips his cup. "Thank you, ma'am." With that, William and the Colonel step outside. Walking towards the edge of the barnyard, they share an important, albeit frank, conversation. "So, tell me, Colonel, how might an old Scottish-Irish farmer be of service to a man of your prestige?" Washington stops walking. "Truth be told, William, I need your help. Virginia needs your help." William takes off his wide brim, scratching his head. "Me? How so, Colonel?" "As I'm sure you are aware, tensions are heating up in the Ohio River Valley." William puts his hat back on. "I assume you're referring to the bloody French who killed me best friend out there. Aye, I'll be aware." "I'm sorry for your loss, sir. Was he a member of the Ohio Company expedition?" "Indeed he were, Colonel. Shot and killed in cold blood he were." Washington grimaces. "So, I'll ask again, Colonel. What is it you think I can help you with? And let me be plain. You needn't beat around the bush." "Very well, then. Here's my situation. As commander of the Virginia Regiment, I am responsible for the safety and security of the entire colony. As such, I am in need of a good scout and an Indian liaison. To be honest, what I really need is a man who can hold his own and help me build a bridge with the local tribes. And I have it on good authority that you, sir, are that man. I need a skilled tracker and a huntsman who knows this terrain and the local Indian tribes." William glances across the yard at his boys. "And just 'cause I'm a curious sort, what makes you think an old farmer like me is that man, Colonel?" "Please, let us not be coy, William. When several of my men came to me with your name, I asked that very question. Why? Why him?" William pulls out his pipe and lights it. "And?" "And I was flooded with stories. Stories about a man they call Makwa, a man who endeared himself to the Shawnee when he saved the life of one of their warriors, and while doing so, likely saved the lives of several of his friends. A man who has lived among the Indians, who speaks their language. One story even told of how you killed a bear with your bare hands. A bear! And when asked how to find this man, this Makwa, They were told to look for the man who looks like a bear. Honestly, sir, need I say more?" William grins. "Well, I did have me granddad senior's knife." Washington raises a brow. "I'm sorry?" "The knife. It were me granddad's." "You killed the bear with a knife? Your grandfather's knife?" "Aye, Colonel. We do what we must. And to be clear, it were actually the Piscataway what named me Makwa, no the Shawnee." "The Piscataway?" "Aye, but the Shawnee call me that as well. Funny people, these Injuns." Washington smiles. "Well, apparently your reputation precedes you, sir. According to everyone my men spoke with, you are beyond question the right man for the job, which is why I'm here. And frankly, I didn't believe them at first. But now, having met you, I'm beginning to understand the truth of it." William swipes a hand over his chin. "Well, I'm downright flattered, Colonel. I mean, I did those things, but I didn't realize everyone else did." "Such tales were meant to be told, William. So what do you think? You would be doing the Crown a great service. The question is, will you help me?" Standing just feet from the throwing range, William looks at his boys, thinking. With the two men once again within earshot, the Albin boys resume their eavesdropping. William turns back to Washington. "Everything you say is true, Colonel." Over at the throwing range, Junior giggles to his brothers. "Colonel? What kind of name is that?" John snaps. "Heck, I didn't ken. It's probably French. Now shush, I want to hear what they're saying." "I have for many years been on good terms with the Shawnee, Colonel. We've been through many a trial and tribulation together. Unfortunately, the Crown has all but chased 'em away." Washington takes a deep breath and sighs. "Into the waiting arms of the French, I fear." "Aye, so it would seem, Colonel." Robert whispers. "The French?" Junior hurls his hatchet at the stump, then turns to his brother. "I thought you said he were French." Again John snaps. "Shush! I'm trying to hear." William sighs. "So you see, it's been quite a spell since last we spoke, and to tell you true, I'm no really sure I'd be much help. Honestly, I'm no certain how they'd take to me, calling on behalf of their enemy. If you take my meaning, Colonel." Concerned, Junior asks, "Is Da in trouble?" Eyes fixed on his Da, John replies. "I hope not." Robert giggles. "You think Da likes this fella?" John snaps. "Shush!" "I understand the tenuous nature of what I'm asking, William, which is why I'm asking, but ask I must. And forgive me if I'm overstepping, but would you be willing to give it a try?" William stares at the ground, pondering the Colonel's question. After a moment or two, he lifts his head and looks Washington in the eyes. "First, let me just say I understand your situation, Colonel, and I can appreciate your need for such a man. And no, sir, you would no be overstepping. In fact, I'm honored that you asked. But, as honored as I am, and forgive me for being blunt, we'd just be pissing in the wind." Washington stares back at him, listening intently. "You see, Colonel, the Shawnee, and frankly, all the other tribes in these parts, despite the fact they've been more than accommodating over the years, have been lied to and wronged time and again. So they're angry and don't trust the white man any more." "Why then do they align with the French?" Williams shakes his head. "Sheer desperation, Colonel. We've been lying to 'em and stealing their land since we got here. So, they're clinging to any hope of saving what they have left. And frankly, who can blame 'em? We've chased 'em out of their homes, off their land, away from their hunting grounds and sacred sites, and promised them the bloody world without so much as delivering a single promise. So to them, our word is akin to a bucket of holes." Washington strokes his chin. "I see." "And frankly, Colonel, the last thing I need to do is make an enemy of an old friend. And forgive me for saying, But between the Crown and the French, these Injuns have had it up to here with us. Think of it! If they'd run you off your land, how trusting would you be of them? How trusting would you be of any man who ran you off your land?" Washington nods. "Point well made, William. Colonel, if I were to start speaking on behalf of the Crown, eventually me word and all those years of friendship would be worthless. Lost forever." "Indeed, William, and I thank you for your honest insight. It is greatly appreciated." "Don't misunderstand me, Colonel. I ken what you're doing and why. And if I thought I could help you, I would. Bloody hell, you wouldn't even have to ask, 'cause I'd be knocking down your door. And I appreciate you keeping us safe, I do. The work you do is no easy by any measure, and no just any man can do it, which is why I respect you so greatly for it." "Thank you, William." "I'm an old man, Colonel, a farmer, and I'm all me family has. I recently lost me in-laws to the sickness, and I've nobody else to look after me wife and sons if I go gallivanting around the countryside. Who'd be here to keep 'em safe in me absence? So, with all due respect, Colonel, I'm going to have to decline. But I wish you well in your endeavors." Washington reaches out his hand. "Very well, William. I thank you for your time. God be with you." "And with you as well, Colonel. You and your men. It were a pleasure making your acquaintance, sir." With that, William walks the Colonel back to the cabin. Upon re-entering, Washington turns to Mary, bowing gracefully, hat over his heart. "Mrs. Alban, I thank you for your hospitality. You have a beautiful family. May God's graces continue to fall upon you." "It were a pleasure, Colonel, and may God shine upon you as well, sir." Placing his hat on his head, Washington glances at his aide, then turns for the front door. His aide bows to Mary, then to William, then follows his commander out the door. The Albans follow them out, and William shouts, "Robert! John! Fetch these gents their horses!" The brothers unleash the horses from the hitching rail and walk them to their guests, and John says, "They've been fed and watered, sir." He hands Washington the reins. "Thank you, young man." They mount their horses, and as Washington readies himself for the ride back, he looks down at the Alban boys. "Thank you, boys. You've done your father proud. And by the way, that's some mighty fine throwing. Your father has taught you well."
"He didn't teach us, mister. Shawnee warriors did that,"
Robert shouts to Washington's dismay. With that, Washington exchanges a look with his aide, and they ride off, and William shouts, "You're welcome any time, Colonel." Washington gives away with his tricorn, and they trot away. As they do, the boys run to their parents' side, and John asks, "Who were they, Da?"
"Yeah, Da, who were they?"
Robert asks. Despite the fact William had declined the colonel's request, from the few moments in his presence, he came to respect Washington for the gracious and respectful manner in which he carried himself. He was especially impressed with how Washington responded to his decline, which in his experience was a rarity with those representing the Crown, especially an army officer. He also appreciated the way Washington treated his family. While it was but a small gesture, it was one William truly appreciated. And although he hears his son's questions, he is focusing on Washington as he rides off. Once they are out of sight, he turns to his young sons. "They were British soldiers of the Virginia regiment posted here in Winchester." John brags.
"I told you they were soldiers. You said they were French."
Interrupting their squabble, William continues. "Moreover, young squires, what you just witnessed were a rare thing indeed."
"Rare thing? What's that mean?"
Robert asks. "What that means is, we just witnessed something you dinna often see." Confused, Junior retorts.
"But we see men on horses every day."
"Aye, lad, but I'm no talking about just any man. I'm talking about that man, Colonel Washington." John sighs.
"But I thought you hated the Brits."
The boys are listening, but their faces express confusion. Recognizing an opportunity for a life lesson, William elaborates. "'Tis true, lads, I've no much love for the British. But that man ain't British. He's Virginian, born and raised just like you. And did you notice the difference between 'em?"
"I didn't like the other one. He were give me dirty looks,"
Robert scowls. "Aye, lad, nor did I. And that's what I'm talking about. That man were a pompous arse. He pretended to be polite, but you could feel him looking down his nose at us. I didn't care much for him myself. But the other man, Colonel Washington, now there's a true gentleman. A man's man through and through, thoughtful and intelligent. He's a serious man to be certain, but a gentleman through and through. Nay, a smug arse like his aide. Did you see how he conducted himself? He never minced his words. He were direct, but gracious and cordial, respectful. And even though he didn't get what he came for, he never became terse nor rude. That, young squires, is an example of how a man of strength and honor conducts himself. You'd be wise to follow his lead and conduct yourselves likewise. Strong men needn't be rude. Rudeness and short temperament merely demonstrates to those around you that you're feeble-minded and weak. Dinna be weak, lads, dinna be weak." John asks,
"What did he want?"
"He wants me to help with this bloody war."
"Help? How?"
"Well, he wanted me to talk with our Shawnee friends on his behalf."
"About what?"
"To convince them they're on the wrong side of this bloody war, I suppose." Junior asks,
"Duh. What's a war?"
With a squint of his eyes, William reaches up and scratches his ear, pondering his answer. "Well, let me tell you, lad, war is an ugly thing, although sadly sometimes a necessary thing. It's when two sides of an argument feel as though the only way to work out their differences is to fight about it."
"Me and Robert have wars every day,"
Junior confesses. Chuckling, "Hey, lad, what I'm talking about is men killing each other. Real fighting. Fighting for their lives, for God, and for country. Fighting to the death for what they believe in." John asks,
"What are you going to do? Are you going to help that Washington fellow with this war?"
His father shakes his head. "Nay, lad, I'll no be helping him. I canna." So I respectfully declined. John tilts his head back, listening intently. "Sometimes a man needs to go to war because the circumstances demand it. But this is no one of these times. This war ain't mine to fight. I've no qualms with the Shawnee. They're me friends. Never turn on your friends, lads. Never. You must always remain loyal to them who've been loyal to you, and Colonel Washington clearly understands and appreciates that. Which is why I'm telling you, you'd be wise to follow his example. Let me ask you, when were the last time you heard me go on about someone representing the crown?" Junior blurts, "Never." William pats his young namesake on the head. "Precisely." Then he addresses his sons as a group. "You see, lads, when you conduct yourselves properly, people take note. And that's what I'm trying to learn you." The boys listen intently as their father continues. "That Colonel Washington is a respectable gent. On the other hand, his buffoon aide acted like he were better than us. Do you see the difference?" After thinking on it for a moment, each of them nods. "Good. Then let that be a lesson to you. Now let's get back to work. There's a lot more wood needs chopping." After that day, William made a point of speaking of the young colonel to his friends and family, often stating he is worthy of his respect and praise, pointing to him as an officer and a gentleman. In December of 1755, Washington seeks to further his influence by securing a seat in Virginia's House of Burgesses. Sadly, his bid fails.